Throughout industrial history, progress has often come at a price in jobs. Tomorrow, a light will go out in the lives of 3,000 steel workers at the Port Talbot plant in South Wales. Its owners, Tata of India, are due to confirm the switch from labour-intensive coal-burning furnaces to more environmentally friendly electric ones. There is, of course, a huge money-saving element to the decision as well. Unions say there is another way of making the switch without compulsory job losses, and they will fight the plan tooth and nail. The Unite Union accused Tata of playing games with people's lives and said the government needs to step in.
For more than a century, it's dominated both the skyline and the identity of Port Talbot. Once the biggest steelworks in the world, it's already a shadow of its former self. But with a 4,000-strong workforce, it remains vital to the Welsh economy. In the shadow of the plant tonight, at the steelworks' own sports club, the mood was bleak.
The people who work here, we are proud of it. It's in our blood. I've got family there, cousins, my sister works there, my two sons work there. It's just a family thing. If you're from this area, the steelworks is in you.
For Anthony's son, at the beginning of what he hoped would be a long career, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
Really disappointing. Yeah, it's a real big blow. For me and my family, it's really sad.
ITV News understands that Tata intends to close its 2 blast furnaces and replace them with an electric arc furnace, which uses electricity rather than fossil fuels to power the melting of scrap steel. It may be greener, but it also requires far fewer workers to run.
97–98% of our workload currently is all Tata Steel.
The steelworks is also responsible for thousands of jobs in the supply chain, like this engineering firm which repairs and replaces heavy equipment. They argue the wider impact of the closure of both of the blast furnaces would be disastrous. And how devastating would that be for this town?
For Port Talbot, it would be like a ghost town. It would definitely be like a ghost town.
Last year, the UK government said it would provide Tata Steel with £500 million to help subsidise its new electric arc furnace. But these furnaces do not produce steel from scratch. They melt down recycled steel, some of which would have to be imported.
I mean, how did we get here? This has not been something new. We've known since last summer something was up, and long before that we needed a plan for steel which would guarantee onshore making of steel. It is not that the demand for steel is gone, it is that steel will be produced elsewhere in the world, in places like India and China, which have far worse labour standards, but as well as that, far worse carbon standards.
The closure of the blast furnaces would see the UK become the only major economy unable to produce its own steel. A devastating blow for this town as night begins to fall over Wales's last remaining heavy industry. Rhys Williams, News at 10, Port Talbot.
And Anushka joins us now to talk further about this. It's hard to imagine what all those families will be going through tonight. There are very many competing tensions here, aren't there? The government obviously will want that move towards a greener steel manufacturing, and it will save some jobs. So it's a really difficult, intractable sort of position, this, isn't it?
Yeah, if you listen to the arguments on either side here, to government sources and to sources in the unions, you hear a very, very different argument and story. The government would say these blast furnaces were coming towards the end of their lives anyway, that they're responsible for a huge portion of carbon emissions in Wales and that the financial losses were unsustainable. They say there was an existential threat. 8,500 jobs could have gone. So, as you say, they're arguing we're saving jobs here. It's only 3,000 that are going to go. But the unions feel completely different. I've seen a letter tonight from the community and GMB unions to their members. They say this is an absolute disgrace, that the government is essentially spending £500 million to throw 3,000 workers onto the scrap heap. They argue there was a compromise. Keep one blast furnace open till 2032, reduce the job losses to 700. You could do that voluntarily. Now, they admit that that means the green transition is somewhat slower, but they say you've got to protect jobs. I mean, Labour, on its part, they say they spend £3 billion trying to help steel to decarbonise. But, you know, that's part of a £28 billion package that they are shying away from a little bit. So the question is, would it all actually happen?